Hi, my name is Matthew Williams, and I will be presenting on the social judgment theory that we talked about in Chapter 14. The social judgment theory, or social involvement, is the idea of how we perceive and evaluate ideas by comparing with the current attitudes we have. The concept was created by Sharif Muzahar, who is a professor at the University of Oklahoma. And he basically said that he came up with three things, and these are the three latitudes. These are the three zones where we'll say people's ideas will fall depending on a person's stance. One is latitude of acceptance, which are those ideas that fall in a range of where we think they're worthy of acceptance, or we like these ideas, we agree with them. Then there's the latitude of rejection. Now, this is the range where ideas that we disagree with or don't like fall in. And last, there's the latitude of non-commitment. And this is where we're kind of indifferent. This is the range of ideas we're indifferent to kind of fall into. Now, what's interesting is we can put all these on what's called an anchor chart, which is where your position is anchored on a chart. And then we can compare where your latitudes lie and how wide they are or how narrow they are. So let's take a look at a scenario to compare this to. So here we have Mike and Eric. Mike and Eric are best college buddies. They do a lot of same activities together. They agree with a lot of same things. They generally vibe very well with each other. They're kind of almost inseparable. However, there is one issue that they do not agree on. That is weed. Mike's stance on weed is, okay, first off, let's say they saw a news article on the TV where they just found out that weed had been legalized completely in their state. Mike is ecstatic because Mike is a staunch supporter of weed. However, Eric is a little more hesitant. So Mike's response is, come on, weed should be completely legal. There's nothing harmful in it. It helps a lot of people and it's fun. Eric thinks otherwise. He thinks weed should be for medical use only and that too many people tend to abuse it. Now, we can put their stances on an anchor chart, and we can look at their latitudes and see how big they are. So here's Michael's attitude alignment, and he thinks since weed should be completely legal, he's a strong supporter, so he's in almost full support. Now notice how his range of supported ideas is very small. His non-commitment zone is very small, and his rejection zone is very wide, and we'll see why in a few more slides. Here, Eric has a little bit more of nuance. He has a greater non-commitment zone, and his stance on weed is into full opposition, like he mentioned earlier. So, why was Michael's position so? Or why were his ranges so wide in the rejection zone but so small in support in non-commitment? Well, this has a lot to do with ego involvement, which is basically how deeply someone cares about the issue or how important the issue is to the person. Like we mentioned, weed and marijuana is very important to Mike. He goes to a lot of rallies to rally for its legalization. And so things that happen with high ego involvement, typically there's three features. Usually the person has a wide latitude of rejection. They're not willing to accept a lot of ideas that go against what they think. They pretty much have a non-existent latitude and non-commitment, mostly due to the fact that they care a lot. People like Eric, he doesn't care as much, but he still has some issues with weed. And then, yeah, people with extreme views tend to care very deeply, like we mentioned. So if we go back and compare latitude alignment, we can see he has that wide latitude of rejection. Most ideas that are against marijuana use are going to fall within here. No non-commitment because he's a staunch supporter of it. So how do you tend to try and persuade someone like this to see your viewpoints? Well, it's kind of hard. But when it comes to trying to change someone's mind, there's like a few things you need to know. One, discrepancy matters. Basically, messages are going to make the most impact are the ones that are furthest away from the edge of their latitude of acceptance or non-commitment. And if those messages land successfully, then they're the ones that are kind of cause much more change. Well, like I said, the message must fall within non-commitment or acceptance, because if you go too if you go too far of a message away from their current standpoint, or take too huge a risk, and have the opposite effect in the latitude rejection, actually push their acceptance away from your current attitude more. And so when people have high egos, it tends to experience a boomerang effect. Most ideas will fall in their latitude rejection, and trying to persuade them will sometimes end up causing them to not really see your side, but drive them towards more their side. Basically, the idea is they're driven, not drawn to an idea. When someone cares a lot about an idea, they're involved in it. So let's take a look at how how Michael and Eric try to persuade each other. So Eric tries to persuade Michael by saying driving while under the influence of marijuana is causing an increase in car accidents, so should only be given to those who need it. Now, this is so far in Michael's opposition or rejection zone that, yes, there's high discrepancy, but it's all the way over here. And like we said, Michael has a high ego involvement. So many ideas of opposing marijuana use are not going to reach him very well. However, Eric, who's a little more relaxed on the idea, gets persuaded, or Michael tries to persuade him by saying a limited amount of recreational weed is fine, though. If the government regulated, we support that, considering Eric thinks that it's abused. People can't use it too much if it's limited. So that kind of falls right in Eric's non-commitment zone. So it's pretty discrepant. So it could potentially have an increase towards Michael's side of the supporting opposition, since it's not in his rejection zone and it's right where it should be. So let's see what happens. But like we said before, that message didn't land so well, considering it was in Michael's rejection zone. So his range of support actually narrowed more towards, no, it should be completely legal, while not listening to any of your ideas. So I kind of backfired on Eric. While Eric started to see Michael's point a little bit more due to his targeting his non-commitment zone, so he actually gained more support here. So if you're trying to be more persuasive, how can you be, especially with people who are high ego involvement and are pretty stubborn? Well, one, you're probably going to want to try and choose positive messages. Don't try to be cocky or put the other person down, or act like you're above them. Eric calling Michael a pothead or a lazy stoner probably won't stick very well with him. It'll probably drive him in the opposite direction even more. The best messages are going to target their edge of acceptance, right at the edge of their acceptance, or their non-commitment. Those are going to give you the best results, but like the safest ones at the same time. Because if you try to be risky and push like a message even further away from their acceptance zone, like an idea would be, let's say that, well, Michael or Eric tried to zone, it could actually have like the opposite effect. So while it is kind of frustrating not to get a person to see your point right away, it's important that you take small steps, because trying to take big risky messages and send them towards a person isn't going to help them out a lot. It's actually going to drive them away oftentimes if they're not completely agreeing with anything you say. You kind of have to take it small steps at a time and get within their agreement zones, like you said. And also exposing people to different reference groups and values is going to help a lot. It takes multiple people to kind of change a person's mind a lot too. Not one person can change a person's mind, basically. So yeah, thank you for watching.